for reading the newspaper. Who would like to read this loud and clear? Would you please read this as loudly and clearly as possible?
The more you read, the more you know. The more you know, the smarter you grow. The smarter you grow, the stronger your voice. When you speak in your mind or making your choice.
Exactly. And I thank you very much. And I'm going to put this right here. And I hope that this is something that all of you are conscious about. Learning as much as you possibly can about your world and the community in which you live. Now, I brought along some letters from boys and girls, some your age, some a little bit younger. And this first one is from a student at Wilbur Wright Intermediate School. Dear Miss Hill, my name is Taryn Rhodes, and I attend Wilbur Wright Intermediate. I am in the 8th grade, and I enjoyed the privilege of reading the newspaper on Wednesday because otherwise I probably would not be able to read the newspaper at all. There are a lot of boys and girls who would not have been able to read the newspaper if they had not been a part of our sponsor. It's very special here because you have a teacher who thinks enough about you to make sure that you understand what is happening in your world. Ms. Lander does take the time to discuss with you the local events as well as the national events, and she also tries to put it in a form in which you will understand. And I think that that is something that you should be really grateful for. This particular student considers it a privilege. And one of the things I want you to know is that there are a lot of boys and girls all over the world who do not have the opportunity to read the newspaper. And that's something that we take for granted very often because it's always very accessible. You can get it from any drugstore or even in a grocery store. And so that's something that Taryn considers a privilege, and I hope that you will also. I'm just going to read a few other letters. This is from Nardia McCord, and she's also a student in the Cleveland school system. And she says, I like the Plain Dealer because you always know what is happening in the world, good or bad. We have learned more about the war from reading the paper than the kids who don't read it. Everyone in the world should read the Plain Dealer. Thanks for being so nice to send us the paper. Now, can you tell me about when this letter was written? Okay, mention the war. The war. What war do you think that the student was?
Oh,
yes.
Gulf.
Exactly. This is from the Persian Gulf War, and I have a map of the Middle East crisis. Now I want to ask you something, and this goes back to something that Ms. Lander asked you. During the war, now this took place many, many miles on the other side of the world. Was that something that affected you?
Yeah.
The war?
No. No.
The price of the gas.
So that, exactly. Would you say that a little bit louder?
The price of the gas went up.
Exactly. That was one way in which it affected us. Is there any other way that the war affected us? The bus fare? No, I don't think so. Did any of you have any relatives or friends that had to go
People
through?
had to go over and risk their life.
Me?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, you had your hand up.
I don't believe it.
Well, many of us did have relatives that went over, and so whenever you have relatives that go over to fight for war, there are a lot of issues, and certainly you're concerned about the safety of the individual. And we are still,
About half of the students at Niles Elementary had someone they knew very well who was fighting in the Persian Gulf War. We lost one person from maintenance because she, a woman, was in the National Guard and was sent over during the Gulf War. So it did affect Miles very much. So if you didn't have a relative who you were close to, or a neighbor, or someone you knew, your uncle, did your class do anything for your uncle?
Uncle, yeah. My uncle did that.
Well, but while he was in the war, what was a good thing to do?
Right, me, my cousin. I did right now.
Some classes sent letters from Miles Elementary, sent letters to some of the servicemen. And it didn't matter whether you knew them or not. The idea was that if you wrote to them, they might know that you appreciated that they were, in fact, risking their lives. And so a letter can mean a great deal, young man.
Tom?
And hopefully Mrs. Hill will tell us about a letter that several letters that she and the editor and publisher received from Miles Elementary. I don't want to take up all your time, but I think it was important for you to know that more than half the children in Miles Elementary School had a close relative or friend who was in the Gulf War.
Exactly, and as Ms. Lander said, I did receive some letters from the students from Miles Elementary during that time, as did the editor. And I think it was good to give the students an opportunity to write about something that did affect their lives. And that's something that I hope that you will do. They're letters to the editor, and I hope that you understand that one of the reasons for the newspaper is to entertain. Of course, we know that the newspaper is to inform us, and it is also to help incite us, to help get us to address some of the problems that are in our society. Because the newspaper is a mirror of our society, good or bad. It's what is happening, and we need to understand what is happening in our world and in our community. When you read the paper, you see pictures of individuals that really have an influence on your life. This is a picture of William Rehnquist, who was the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. He is involved in a number of important decisions, and it's important that you understand what is going on with the legal process. When you read the newspaper, I hope that you read every article with questions in mind. Can you think of some questions that you should be thinking when you read the newspaper? One, I'll give you one. When you read an article, you should be asking yourself the question, what? What is this article about? Can you give me another question that you should ask yourself when you read articles? Yes.
Who was it about?
Who? Who was it about? Yes. Where? What?
Me.
Who? Where?
Me.
When did it take place?
Why?
And
Why?
why? Why did the event occur, the situation? And how did it occur? Exactly. Now, do we leave anything out? Let's see. Who? What? Where? Why? And how? And those are questions that you should ask yourself whenever you're reading any reading material. Okay? Or if you were going to write. And the newspaper is also very helpful in helping you to formulate your ideas. If you get used to reading the articles and you know that the newspaper, the articles are written very concisely, because they have to be adept at taking a lot of information sometimes and condensing it so that you have the facts, so that you will be informed. Now, I said earlier that it is a privilege to be able to have the newspaper and to read the newspaper. It is also your duty as citizens to be informed and to stay informed. One of these days you're going to be voting. I hope all of you will exercise that privilege. And it will be very important for you to make make intelligent decisions about who it is that you are going to elect. And the newspaper can be instrumental in that. It is also instrumental in helping you formulate your ideas. You can see that there are numerous perspectives written about the same issue. And before you make up your mind as to how you feel about a certain issue, then of course you need to spend the time looking at different ways of thinking, different perspectives. Are there any questions thus far about anything I've covered? Okay, then I will go on.
So they just have a lot on this.
Okay. I brought today's paper with me, and this is the first time I'm looking at it. I am going to comb through the paper, and I'm going to find some things, and I want you to help me. I want you to tell me how the various articles are important in our daily lives. This is a picture of a Native American dancing, and it says, dancing at a powwow. Now, is this important? No. This is about someone who lives in your community. I would think that this would be very important because we need to understand, okay, why is he dancing? Was there something significant? But because this is a member of our society that and the community in which we live, it is important to know what goes on and understand various cultures. We are moving more rapidly to a global society. Okay, actually, we're in terms of marketing, in terms of economics, politics, we have to be concerned as citizens of this country. Again, it is our duty to stay informed. Okay, there are various advertisements when you look at the newspaper. And here's one, Disney World, that is a full page. And it's important to realize that advertising is very important to the newspaper industry. In order to keep the press free, it is important that we have advertisers. And because the press is free, that means that you can state your opinion. You can talk about the government. And in some countries, there are people who are losing their lives just to be able to speak their mind about the government. When you read the newspaper, you should be concerned about cause and effect, how issues, how things that are happening affect your life, okay? How do they affect the lives of your family? And that's something that you should always be asking. There are numerous ways in which you can improve your skill by using a newspaper. For instance, you see vocabulary words, you see the words again and again, and that reinforces your vocabulary. And if you read the words that you don't know in the context, it can help you with the meaning of the word as well. You can identify nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs using the newspaper. Using a comic strip, you could find numerous ways in which you can learn. For instance, you can find words that are the same, synonyms of words. As you comb through the paper, you should be concerned about the importance or the significance of national as well as local events. You will come in contact with numerous individuals, and you should always wonder, why is this person in the news? Why is it important? Did this person do something that was very positive? Did this person do something that was negative and therefore would adversely affect my life and the lives of the people around? Okay, there's so many uses for the newspaper, and so many ways in which it can enrich your life. And right now I'm going to end my presentation, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to come to talk to you today about the importance of the newspaper, and in particular the Plain Dealer. Thank you all.
One neat thing would be, but you have to do a good job, is to write a letter. And these are really nice pencils, which happens to come from Newspapers and Education. I'll be offering this as a reward to any student that writes letters. It can be a thank you letter, it can be a letter to the editor, it can be a letter of concern, it can even be a letter to Mrs. Lander, because I would like to know ways that the library could be improved. We also have a special book called Messages in the Mailbox that I have to get out, which shows you a lot of different letters that were done. And one special company donated some 40 copies for us. If you were writing a letter to the editor, what would you write about? Of any kind of concern that you might have in the community. Anybody? No one has a letter they would like to write or have help with? How do they get what? Oh, how do they get all the words down on the newspaper? That's really important. I'll be able to show you another video when Miss Hill will have more time talking to the next class, and hopefully that will be answered. But if you have more questions, I'm willing to follow them up, okay? And you can get credit for as many questions that are good, that pertain to the subject that you want to ask.